I know that the entire point of this channel is to house discussions that I don't think could realistically be turned into full-on Rock episodes. That being said, even this topic here feels like it's a stretch for this channel, but you know what? I am very interested in prototypes and just the development of video games, especially really iconic video games. So, when something comes out about the development of the original Super Smash Bros., I'm gonna wanna talk about it, okay? So just bear with for a little bit. Alright, so, recently, I just realized I did not get the name of the person who discovered this, but basically, somebody accidentally found, the original drawings, like the storyboards for the intro cutscene of Super Smash Bros. On the N64 that were drawn by Masahiro Sakurai himself. And this is extremely cool. So this was found by David Kimball over on Twitter. He is a content creator and he was researching for his upcoming video, and he was using the Wayback Machine, which is, by the way, one of my absolute favourite things on the internet. And he was using the Wayback Machine to access archives of HAL Laboratories' website, and he came across these storyboards for the opening scene of Smash 64. And this is just really, really cool to see, because obviously we know how this turned out, and just seeing the images that became that iconic opening cutscene is just, it's so cool to me, and getting to see Sakurai's own art style at play here, it's fascinating. So they have like the first panel where the master hand kind of clicks, and then everything comes to life. You have the desk transforming into a stage from the game. You have the Mario plush coming to life. You have like the ships from Star Fox coming in. You have that little scene of Mario about to face off with Kirby. And then you've got the part of the intro where all the characters are introduced, like the yeah, and then like the secret characters fly in, and then you've got all the characters running towards something, I don't even know what. But yeah, it's just super cool to see the very earliest ideas for this intro. And you know, Smash 64 is a game that we have seen, like, we know a lot about the development of this game, you know? Like, we know that it was King of Fighters originally, and it used, like, the little mannequin men as the characters, and then we know that it was pitched to Satoru Iwata, I think, to use Nintendo characters. So, you know, we know a lot about the development of this game, but it's still cool to see just more, to learn more about what happened to make that game what it was. And it's interesting that this wasn't actually revealed by Masahiro Sakurai himself. You know, he's got his YouTube channel going on at the minute. I know that it's due to end soon, which is very sad, and I need to I need to catch up on his videos because it's been a little while. But you know, he did a whole video on Smash 64, I believe, and it's really interesting that this wasn't something that was brought up in that video. It took a researcher to just stumble upon them. You know, as far as I'm aware, reading the tweet, he this is how he worded it. He said, "This is nuts. I accidentally found the original Smash 64 storyboard artwork created by Sakurai himself. I wasn't able to recover all of it, but here is most of it." So, this guy, David Kimball, he wasn't even looking. He wasn't trying to find this. He just happened upon it while searching for I don't even think we currently know what he was searching for, because it's for an unreleased video project. But, like, what if he hadn't have been using the Wayback Machine and went to the exact archive of the website that he did? Would this have ever came to the surface? Would we ever have seen this? It's just, it's a crazy coincidental chain of events that led to a pretty monumental discovery, I would argue. You know, it's not like beta footage or anything like that, but like it's essentially concept art for Smash 64, and it's the storyboards that led to one of the most well-known intro sequences in gaming, I would argue. I think everyone knows about that intro sequence, at least to some extent. You know, I'm sure the Fortnite kids, they probably aren't aware of it, but, you know, most people who have played a Smash game before, they know about that opening scene, and so to see the seeds of that scene, that's not an easy thing for my brain to compute. The seeds of the scene. To see how we got to that point is fascinating to me, and I hope that other people find this interesting and are able to see these screenshots. And there's also a lot of Japanese text next to them. I assume it's just like explaining how each of those panels is supposed to play out when animated. I don't know if anybody has actually like translated all of these panels. You know, on the one that's like the master hand doing the click, it's got like little illustrations of the hands going like 3, 2, 1, click. So I assume that the Japanese scripture up top is sort of explaining how that would play out in the scene, and I assume, you know, for like the one where the characters are all running off to the side, or the one with the Star Fox ships, there's a lot of text going on there, so I assume that it's giving an explanation to the animators and everything like that, like how Sakurai envisioned this scene being translated from paper to video. Because, you know, a lot of them are pretty short. There's a couple here that are only like one line of Japanese text, so I imagine they're the less complex scenes from this opening. But yeah, I just, you know, I'm glad that that David was able to stumble across these by accident. I'll leave the link to his tweet in the description so you can look upon it for yourselves. But again, I just can't help but imagine, would we have ever found this if David didn't? If he hadn't have just coincidentally been scrolling through the HAL Laboratory website archive and just stumbled across the exact right page, if that hadn't have happened, would we have ever seen this? I don't think we would have. And, you know, there's a big conversation to be had about, like, game preservation in this, you know? I mean, I know that to a lot of people, this isn't actually in the game, therefore doesn't really fall under the banner of game preservation, but I absolutely think that it should. Stuff like concept art and, like, storyboards and stuff like that, I think we should be able to see them more often. And I know Nintendo's really weird about not wanting to show behind the scenes and developmental stuff, and I think that's a big shame. I really think stuff like this is really interesting, and I think the right audience would get a lot out of this. So yeah, hopefully, you know, in the other timelines where David didn't discover this, hopefully Sakurai mentions it in a YouTube video, or, is interviewed and releases these to the public. But at least in our timeline, the good timeline, we have access to it right now, thanks again to David V. Kimball. You should go check him out on Twitter. Again, I will leave the links to his tweet in the description. I don't know why I was talking about other universes. I guess Deadpool and Wolverine is really on the forefront of my mind right now. I saw that film the other day, and it was really good. It was confusing as someone who has only watched Deadpool 1 and 2. I haven't watched any of the other Marvel stuff, so it was a little bit confusing, but it was still fantastic. It was still really funny. It was still Deadpool. I kind of wish that it was a little bit more standalone, like the first two were. But yeah, it was still a good film. And it's left me with a crippling impulse to buy a movie-accurate replica Deadpool costume that would cost over £3,000. And I don't have that kind of money. So yeah, I'm going to stop thinking about it in this video that is not about Deadpool. It's about Super Smash Bros. 64 concept art and storyboards. Anyway, I'm going to go and try and fend off that impulse. Goodbye!